Evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in today. We have Gina with us this evening, and she's on kindly sharing her story with us. So do you want to just tell me a little bit about yourself, maybe like as far back as you want to go with your story?
Yeah, so I was born into a household with two heroin addicted parents, and I was adopted. But before then, life was absolutely horrific. So I think I've kind of gravitated towards what isn't particularly healthy. And obviously, growing up, relationships were really, really hard, and like I said, gravitated towards people that probably had no intention other than to do me harm, whether that be mentally or psychologically, I suppose, or even physically. I was absolutely ruined by life from the outset.
Oh, bless you. That's the problem, isn't it? I guess if you're born into a family of addiction or something, where you just thrive for anyone that shows you attention, and perhaps it's not the same um attention that I would have got growing up as a child.
Yeah, so I went from both of my birth mum and dad being IV heroin users, crack addicts, and probably whatever else they could get their hands on. And I went from that to being adopted into a household of utter bliss, or what would be utter bliss for quote unquote a regular child. So I went really from one extreme to the other, and I probably didn't know how to deal with that. So growing up, it was full of anger, full of hate, full of self harm. Um, so it wasn't particularly ideal, but my adoptive parents, they gave me, well, I say my adoptive parents, they are my parents. They gave up everything for me. They are my family. um they tried their best with a very broken and already very damaged child. um they tried to give me the life that I should have had to start with, and I couldn't accept that because it wasn't sort of normal for me in my brain. So yeah, early years weren't great, but it went from horrific early years to blissful sort of growing up to horrific stuff as a teenager slash adult.
So can I just ask what sort of age was you when you went into adoption?
So I went into care at 3.5 to a lovely, lovely couple. Unfortunately, both have died since then. And by the age of 4, I was fully adopted to a police officer and his wife, who was a teacher.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's a totally different kind of home environment, isn't it?
Years, and then he went from being a police officer to a minister. So
Oh,
I have
wow.
that religious affiliation as well, which is my life. I am a Christian, and I do like to believe there is something after death, but it's very hard to cope with, as a child, going from one forced situation and a lot of abuse and neglect at the same time to not a really strict way of life, but a very
It's
different life.
Yeah, I was going to say it must have been strict in comparison to kind of what you knew.
Yeah,
Because like you said, it's a very, very different way of life. So yeah,
yeah.
that must have been that must have spun your head, I guess, a lot.
It's like, sorry, my phone's giving me a notification. So I went from, birth parents, especially my birth mum, who, at a very, very young age herself, she was 16 when she had me. So from a very early age, I was stealing my own birthday cakes, tucking it into the cozy toes of my push.
Oh,
Um, to not having to do that, not having to be a 3-year-old parent to my brother, so it was really, really like complete opposite ends of the spectrum for me.
so when did things sort of take a real turn for the worst? Like you said, sort of as a teenager.
So I kind of always gravitated towards the whole bad boy, let's bang something up our face and just get absolutely happy with everything. So I suppose you could say I was I was 16, 17, and that was the first relationship, intimate relationship, that probably wasn't healthy for me as an adult or teenager, whatever way you want to put it. And it kind of went from there, really. But then let's fast forward like a fair few years. So I had a relationship with my perpetrator. And at first, absolutely lovely. Couldn't fault it. Literally couldn't fault it. Days out with his children, because at that point I didn't have my youngest. Um, you know, I can't even begin to explain just how great that was to start with. And then within 6 months, it the horror started. The
So that's the whole
absolute,
love bombing at the beginning of the
yeah,
narcissistic
yeah,
behaviors.
absolutely. And at that point, like by that point, I think for someone that had early years trauma, um, you don't quite notice just how bad it gets so quickly. I
Mm.
thought, you know what? This man loves me with all my flaws, with all my mental health problems, with all my previous issues. This man really sees through all of that and he loves me for who I am. And I tell you, Fran, I could not have been so wrong. Could not have been so wrong. Within 6 months, been I'd been hit on my right foot with a lump hammer. So I was cooking, and I remember it like it was yesterday. I was cooking spaghetti bolognese, and I didn't, I didn't cook it quick enough, and he had broken 4 bones in the top of my foot with a 16-ounce lump hammer. But by
That's,
then, yeah, it's mental, ain't it?
how can you cook it any quicker than when it's cooked?
I know. So he was actually outside in the driveway, fixing a car for someone, the whole earnings that are kind of on the side. Um, I stood there and I thought, you know what, he probably needs a cup of tea. He's probably a little bit chilly out there. So I made him a brew, and I thought I'll stir the mince before I take it out, and I wasn't quick enough, and I didn't hear him sneak up on me, and he broke bones in the top of my right foot with a hammer.
I mean, I get hangry, right? But like that just takes stuff to a whole new extreme. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Uh,
wow. Like it's not even funny, but obviously,
yeah,
it's literally that kind of thing, isn't it? It's like, what the hell? Like we all get hangry. We all can get like I can get well moody when I'm hangry, but never to the point where I'm going to take a hammer and smash someone's bones up. Do you know what I mean?
mate, I get hungry. I tell you, I can be really, really bitchy, but I didn't even hear him sneak up on me. Like it was,
So,
I don't know. Maybe I was blind to it.
so what in your head? Like, what did you like? What did you think? What did you like? Where was your head at once this had happened?
I'll be honest with you. I don't really know where my head was at. I was thinking, well, because of previous life trauma and stuff that had gone on, I thought, well, is this normal? Is this what I am sort of destined to have in life? If you get what I mean, is this all that I am worth?
I mean, I'm gonna just hold you on that moment for a second because I know there'll be certain people at home watching this and they'll be like, why didn't you leave? Oh my God, you're stupid. It's your fault. But until somebody has been with a narcissist and has lived your life and walked in your shoes, or even, do you know what? You can have the best life in the world. You can still meet a narcissist, guys. And until you've been in them shoes, do not comment, do not preach because you have no idea. Because this is the thing is by these 6 months you're already hooked in. You're madly in love. Not only that, you have had such a shitty life but prior to that, that he's shown you all these amazing things about him, you think he's the one, and then you'll say, you know, maybe it was my fault. Maybe this is a one-off. Maybe it will never happen again. Because I'm pretty sure I'll let you tell your story, but I have to cut in because I know there will be certain people that have no clue at home that will be commenting, "Oh, she should have left." Of course, anyone should leave, but until you're in that situation, that ain't that simple.
Yeah,
So sorry.
absolutely. Apologize, absolutely, because within those 6 months, I think because I had no self-worth, I had no self-respect, and I had no self-esteem, I think that really was the way in for this man. You know, I had, because I had no self-worth, I thought, do you know what, this is life. This is what, I am worth. And you know what? To everyone that is listening to this, you are worth so much more. That first injury, that first derogatory comment, that first, "Oh, well, you'll never find anyone better than me," you are worth more. And the first opportunity you have to get out, because I spent 10 years with this man and I was broken mentally, physically broken. My bones were broken. My spirit was diminished. I was not myself. And I believed that my own family didn't care. And to every single woman, man, teenager out there, you are worth so much more.
Yeah, I second every word of that. I totally second every word of that. That, like, it's just so hard when you're in that situation. You know, and then they'll
And
be sorry, and then there'll be that person who they was in the beginning, and then they'll come with something else, and you're just screwed at this point. You're just absolutely screwed. I mean, 10 years you say you was with this dude, man.
yeah,
Like,
10 years I was with him. And you know what? When I got released from prison, sorry, there's a police car going past. 10 years I was with him, and he was my Cody when I went to prison. He was sent down the same time. But who was waiting outside that courthouse for me? Who had convinced me that if I didn't go back to him at that point, I would die? Because at that point, other people were, you know, working their magic and getting in there. He was waiting outside that courthouse for me. I was convinced I was going to be shot on those courthouse steps. And
wow.
yeah, I went into it knowing what had happened, but at the same time, really thinking, that mentality, I will be the one to change this man. I will be the one to make him love someone like he's never loved before.
Oh
Don't do
God.
it. Mate, if you've got that chance to leave, absolutely leave, because I nearly died.
God.
And no one will understand that if they've never been in that situation, or if they're in the early stages of that situation, they are going to believe that they are the only person for this man, that they are loved wholeheartedly, that they are literally on that pedestal, and they're not. And I hate to break it to people, but you are not. You are on a you serve a purpose basis. For
Yeah.
me, I served a purpose. I served that purpose. I was a punch bag, a maid, a babysitter to two children that weren't mine, that I do love. They are essentially in my heart. They are my children. But I served a purpose. I was that anger outlet. Don't do it. Don't do it to yourselves. The first opportunity, bloody well run.
Do you feel like there's support for women that don't have anybody that?
No, not at all. There is no support. And I'll be honest with you, Fran, I got to a point where I had a police officer who was involved with the raid of my property at that time. Um, and he was lovely. I can't fault him at all. But he sat in front of me 2 years later after release, and I was physically cutting my face open in front of him. That, and I believe now that it was probably a bit of sort of Stockholm syndrome. Um, I genuinely believed at that point I would not be able to survive without my perpetrator, and it was killing me knowing that he was at home and I was where I was, and I just wanted to be there. I would have put up with the violence if it made me feel like that I could believe that I was loved, that I was worth it in my own twisted way, if that kind of makes sense.
Hmm. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So I sat there in front of this police officer and he said, "Come on, Gina." He said, "I was there when you were raided. I was there when you got out of prison. I've seen you at your worst." And I thought, well, no, you haven't. This is my worst. A major trigger warning for people that are watching this. I cut from here to here because I didn't know how else to express that I needed help. Um, and I was so hurting, sort of in my heart, in my head. I didn't know how to deal with all of these emotions. Um, and my thinking was physical pain will distract from the mental pain, the
Mm.
emotional pain. And he sat there and he watched me do it, and he said, "Well, whatever you need to do to get it out." And I thought, well, hang on a second. you know, Absolutely blew my mind. I thought, take this razor off me. Bloody well help me.
Jesus. What?
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I can't even I don't even want to begin to understand that kind of mentality. I mean, obviously, we all know, I mean, what anyone that's been to prison certainly knows that, self-harming is a form of taking away what's going on inside your brain. Because for that minute, you're focused on the pain in your arm or your face or your leg rather than what your own thoughts, like your own crazy mind.
absolutely. And weirdly, I didn't self harm at all in prison. I loved my time inside. I loved it. And even now, when I have my low moments, I think, do you know what, Gina? If you could go back without committing a crime, I would be racing through those gates with a rocket up my backside, like, yes, I'm
There's
home.
because I miss prison. Would I ever want to go back? Like, obviously not, no, because of my mum, my dad, and all that. Like, and you should be careful with the words that come out of your mouth. I know that because words are powerful, but you are safe. You you have a little family and people like you for you. And you know what? You will meet the most amount of people that have the same brain as what you do, and they understand you more than anybody does. And you're not
Absolutely.
judged unless you're
No.
a kiddie did it. Like, you're not judged. Like, you're not judged for self-harming. You're not judged for having all cuts all the way up your arms and across your legs. You're not judged for being angry. You're not judged for crying all the time. Like, you're just the same. We've all got issues.
Absolutely. Do you know what? I went in when I was nicked, not too bad. A couple of days down the station, a little bit of tuna pasta and a couple of cups of tea, right? And then I went to court and they said, you know what, you're going to be remanded to Peterborough. And I went in with the mentality of orange is the new black, Wentworth, I am going to get shanked in the showers. I'm not, Right. I am not ashamed to admit it. I went in there thinking, well, this is it. I'm going to have a razor up my bumhole.
I was
And
scared. I was
yeah,
terrified.
absolutely. And I think it's that unknown, isn't it? It's the
Yeah.
complete fear of known and a huge change of circumstance. Well, within 3 days, I was on induction in Peterborough, and that wasn't particularly easy. But within 3 days, I thought, you know what, Gina, you've got this. You are safe in here. There is no risk of violence from a perpetrator, from anyone that you might have some kind of close relationship with. You are safe. And I got into that headspace of like, I don't care if I do the next 20 years in here. I am safe. And that's when I thrived.
So, just for the viewers watching at home, would you mind telling us what you went to prison for and how long you served?
Yeah, so Initially, the arrest warrant said possession with intent to supply, so 2 counts of Class A drugs. So I had a safe in my house that had £30,000 worth of pure crack cocaine, £5,500 worth of pure heroin, Sealy bags, scales, phones for each drug line. So it was essentially possession with intent to supply. Um, so I was remanded in prison while they were, doing their investigation, forensics, whatever else. And I served 11 months. At that point, they dropped the charges to causing or allowing the property to be used for storing illicit substances, which carries a maximum of 18 months incarceration. At that point, I'd done 11 months on remand, so they saw it as that I'd served my
I'm sorry.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I was backwards and forwards in that time to court, various other hearings that needed to be done, in relation to the children and obviously the criminal side of things. But I was actually sentenced phone. I was actually sentenced on the day I was released. So yeah,
I didn't
it was
expect that.
it was 11 months to be in safe run. And it's ironic, I think, really, that someone has to be incarcerated and put behind bars with such rules, regulations, and restrictions to actually feel safe.
That's the scary thing, isn't it? That's the absolutely scary thing, is that you actually do feel safe in prison. And I wasn't, going through what you were going through, but I felt really, I needed to go to prison. It was the best thing that happened to me. But this is not about me; it's about you anyway. So during your time in prison, did you ever speak to anybody about what was going on the outside? So you never
No,
seeked any help.
no, I didn't seek any kind of professional help, but I made the best friend that I have now in prison.
Oh,
And I speak to her. She's like family, she has been there essentially, maybe not from start to finish, but from definitely the start of my prison sentence to even now. She knows everything. She she has seen my scars. She has kind of she's borne the weight of my she's been there. She knows everything, and to me that's family.
oh yeah. For me, it doesn't matter how someone's been in and how long someone's been in your life for. I've met people in prison, and they'll be my friends till I die. And some of them have been more loyal than people I've known for God knows how many years. So
Absolutely, absolutely, and I completely agree with that. I'll be honest. At one point within my remand time, I had a letter from my perpetrator because he was in another prison, so we were still able to communicate by letters. Excuse me. Um, I had a letter from him, and it said, "I hope you haven't opened your mouth. There's 5 grand on your head," and it had a little face on the letter, a little sort of smirky face, and it had a little on the yeah,
wow. And the
and
prison still, that's the problem. They're
yeah,
supposed to check. I know they don't check all the mail, but still,
I,
when you're on remand, that's when they should be checking it, because obviously
oh yeah.
like people threatening you, or you giving any information that might help solve crimes and that you're like under investigation for.
Exactly, exactly. And I think that really, even though I was in prison, that was the start of the sort of worming the way back in, because I'd sat there and I thought, by this, I went in, absolutely failed a drugs test. I am not going to lie. Um, but by that point, I thought, you know what, mate, you've got this. You can fly through this sentence. And that was his way of worming his way back in. And that was the day I rang my solicitor and I rang my barrister and I said, withdraw my defence statement. I will go guilty. I will take the 12 to 15 years you're saying I will have if I go guilty. I am safe in here.
Yeah, wow.
And I think that's a really huge thing. And I mean, it didn't just, it was the start of it wasn't just a broken foot. That was just the start of absolute horror, absolute abject horror. I mean, I have so many scars on me. I had my face stamped on, I had my jaw broken, I had a hit on my left leg with a machete that went down to the bone. If I didn't put that cup of tea on the table quick enough, I would be knocked to the floor. I've had my skull fractured so many times. And I think that by the time that I'd got to the last, I say the last injury, the last pre-prison injury, I'd had a boot slammed on my head and the boot latch kind of entered here somewhere.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm telling you, when I say it was the extreme end of it, other than being essayed, killed by this person, that was the most borderline extreme abuse that I have ever had in my life. So if anyone is sitting there thinking, he's only hit me once, he'll change, he will not change.
No, never. No.
Because you have stayed, that is opening that door to a lifetime of
No,
being.
100%.
Yeah, so that first punch, that first derogatory comment, that, oh, no one cares about you other than me. You will never have anyone in life other than me. I love you. I am so invested in you. As soon
Yeah.
as that happens, get out. Just
Yeah.
get out.
It's that whole you'll never find anyone better than me. No one will love you like I love you. No one will put up with your fucked up ways. Yeah, usual bullshit. Do you know
Absolutely.
I think the only amazing thing is like TikTok, for example, there's a lot about narcissistic stuff nowadays. Whereas you're talking over 10 years ago, there was nothing. I don't even think it was labeled narcissism then, was it? Or narcissistic, whatever you want to call it. I don't even think that was such a thing. So nowadays, even if people don't feel like they're being supported, there's always that motivational video that will come up. There is people that will say you can reach out to me and stuff like that. So my advice to you is if you feel like you're not being heard, um, just keep going. Look for these people on social media that you can reach out to. There are people in this day and age that will help you. It's not obviously your situation back then. There was nothing. There was nobody. The police don't care. And I had a friend on this channel that she was tricked by her lover being a different sex, and she was in a violent relationship, and the police wouldn't take no notice, and in the end, luckily somebody did, and she got out, but it took prison and all that sort of stuff.
It does. I think you get to what you consider to be the lowest of the low in a narcissistic violent relationship or prison. You get to that point where you think, oh, I cannot fall any further, and then you realize that hell's got a basement, and you go to prison, and in a really strange way, um for me personally, I went to prison and I thought, you know what? It opened my eyes. It really opened my eyes. And I just got to a point where I thought, I can live without this man. I can do it without this man. And I was so comfortable with that. And then I got released from court actually. And he's there, classic kind of American bad boy look, 1 foot up against the wall, smoking a fag, like hit the big uns, you know what I mean? And I just it's hard to explain. Um, so I got out and I thought, he loves me. He's still here. He's still waiting for me because he could have just left that courthouse, got on a train, and gone home
Yeah.
without me. And he was still there. And I thought, you know what? There must be something about me that's worth loving. how wrong was I? I have never been so wrong in all my life, because I came out to this man and hell started again, and hell had just stoked its fires, and
God.
it went from broken foot to a broken jaw to a broken skull to missing teeth to absolute negative self-worth. There was no self-worth. I'm in the negative on that point. And I'm thinking, Jeannie, this is your lot in life. This is what you deserve. And it got worse. And luckily, and I know I'm sat in this video and I keep playing with my hair, and it's not because I'm a vain bitch, it's because it's hiding a 3-inch skull deep laceration to the top of my head. So when I say, when things get hard or there's a derogatory comment and I say get out, I am not saying it for the fun of it. I am not saying it just because I can. I'm saying it because I ended up in hospital with my head stitched back together because I had been hit in the same place repeatedly with a metal bar. He could have killed me in front of not only my child, but his other 2 children as well.
I don't even have any words. I mean, do you know what I really want to know? When was the get out? When was the breaking point? How did you get out? And what made you get out?
So the night of my head injury, let's start there, I think, because I think that's quite an apt place to start. Um, so up until that point, I'd obviously struggled with my mental health, and I really believed that this man was healthy for me, and that's all I wanted. I was sat there and sat at my home at that point, and all I wanted was a hug. Something so insignificant to any sort of general person. I just wanted a cuddle. That's all I wanted. I don't live close to my family, which is probably half the reason he actually managed to get so far in my head in the first place. I just wanted a cuddle. So I turned up at the house and I knocked on the door, and he opened the door and the smile slid off his face. I can't even begin to describe how quickly that smile went off his face. And he was sat there at the kitchen table with, someone that we knew at the time, the children, and the girl that he would say girl, the woman that he was cheating on me with. And that's when I kind of realized or thought to myself, you're replaceable. You're not worth it. You are
Mm.
replaceable. Um, and as much as I didn't want to be a punch bag, I would have taken it because I really wanted this man to love me. And from there, it was a very much downward spiral. Self-harm became a daily occurrence in my life. More than once a day, I was cutting over cuts, over cuts, over cuts. To the point, like I said, where a police officer was sat there and said to me, let it out, just do what you've got to do and let it out. And that's when I was offered DBT, so dialectical behavior therapy. So it's not where you talk about your sort of triggers, your early years trauma, other life trauma. It just gives you the tools to deal with those triggers when they come up. And that was the start of a very long 16 months for me of very, very intensive therapy to make me understand and realize, not even realize, to make me know that I am worth more. In general, I am worth it. I am above being a punch bag. I am above losing all feeling from the waist down because my perpetrator has hit me across the back with metal bars. I am above the broken bones, and I am definitely worth being loved. And that is what has got me to where I am now. This time 6 months ago, I wouldn't have even dreamt of being sat here with you, going onto a YouTube channel, exposing well, no, not even exposing, Fran. It's being comfortable with telling my story. And if a small part of my story helps even one other person, then I've done what I set out to do.
Yeah,
And
no, 100%.
it's crazy, isn't it? Like, you go from what you consider to be the worst of the worst, and you and I both know we've been in prison with the worst of the worst. But in a relationship, it's very, very different, because I think prison is very controlled in some ways. And you kind of dissociate from a normal life because you are behind bars. You have to get used to that.
That becomes
But
your world. And that's
it
the only,
does.
that's what I did. I fixated on that was my world. That's where I lived. I used to get told off for calling my cell home. So I'd be like to the officer, can you take me home now? They'd go mad. That ain't your home. That's your cell. No, I live here right now. This is my home. I can't, like you say, I disassociated myself with the outside world because that was my coping mechanism. And it worked for me.
It did. It worked for me as well. I think, when you've got children as well, you kind of compartmentalize that
Mm.
life. You stick that in that box, you lock it as tight as you can and put it at the back of your mind. Um, and you don't forget about it, because that is your life. Outside life is your world. Your children are your world. But you have to learn to live kind of an alternate lifestyle, because you are behind bars. You have to wait for an officer to open you. We called them rooms in Peterborough, so I had to wait for an officer to open my room. 9 times out of 10, I was on the toilet, taking a cheeky wee.
Like,
Um,
yeah.
you know, but there were two prison officers in Peterborough, and I couldn't speak more highly of them. And one of them I still speak to today. He's left the prison service because he was asked to do stuff that was against his morals and what he believed in. I still speak to him now, and when I'm having a wobble, I get straight on Messenger and I'm like, mate, give us a hand with this. Do you know what I mean? And this prison
Oh,
officer actually dragged me back from some of my lowest days. He saw the raw, unfiltered, probably disgusting Gina that anyone has ever seen. And he put up with some crap off of me, I'm telling you. But I couldn't speak more highly of these two people. And to have, I think, someone on the inside to talk to like that should be the same for every prisoner, unless you're a little bit, kiddie wise.
yeah.
I don't think I have anyone to talk to, but for a general population prisoner, they need to be able to know that they can go to an officer and say, I am having an absolutely rubbish day. Is there any way you can support me through this? And that's not available for most prisoners.
No, I know. And it's very refreshing because I do like to speak good of prison. I mean, I have got more bad stuff to say about prison than I have good, but there are some officers that I never would have got through half of my sentence without. And everyone's so quick to like bad mouth officers. I've got to make a noise, sorry. Sorry about me. Sorry, guys watching at home. The cats are fighting. So basically, yeah, they where was I? Yeah, so I'm all for it because they got me through some of my darkest times in prison. And then there were some arsehole ones, but the problem is, like you said, this officer's left, all the good ones leave. All of the good ones leave.
Yeah, and I think they leave because fundamentally the system is broken, and it's not just broken for prisoners, it is broken for the officers as well, because they're expected to cover up other officers' like issues, let's put it that way. Um, Maybe heavy-handedness, and quite frankly, utter shit.
Mm,
They are they feel coerced in a way to lie for these senior ranking officers that actually make life utter hell, as if we have not come from hell as it is. You have
yeah.
got officers there that are like, "Do you know what? That knife's already stuck in. I'm going to be that idiot that twists it just a little bit further." When actually, you don't need that. You've gone
No.
in, you've done your time or doing your time. You don't need an idiot to kick you in the face like I had in prison. I had a prison officer that threw my salad across the room. Of all things, man dashed my salad across my cell, and I was like, "Mate, you will pick that up. Whether it's with your hands or your butthole,
Yeah.
you are going
That's what I
up
mean.
that."
That's signs of aggression, mate. If you'd done that, that'd have been a nicking. If you'd done it on the
Yeah,
landing and dashed your salad across the floor, that'd have been a nicking. But some of them are so aggressive. Some of them, listen, they're worse than the bloody. They're worse than the prisoners. Some of them.
yeah, absolutely. And I think the whole salad thing was a couple of days after I got there. So you're
That's
seeing,
scary.
yeah,
If you just
you're
got to
you're
prison.
yeah, exactly. You're literally seeing the face of the prison embodied in this one officer. And I know it's only a salad and it seems really insignificant, but I'm not being funny. I actually really wanted that salad. Like,
If you've got no money as well, man, food's food.
yeah, and he's there and he's like chucking your food there, and you're like, "Mate, hang on a minute. Like, you clearly don't know what it was on the outside that I've come from. And if you don't pick up my salad, I'm gonna bloody well make you pick up my salad." And that was the day I had 5 teeth stamped out of my mouth.
What, in
So
prison?
yeah. So I've
What
lost
happened?
I've lost 3 teeth on my bottom jaw and 2 teeth on my top jaw on my
Who did that?
left. The prison officer that threw my salad, and
What?
this is
Right, I'm
yeah.
going to shut up. Tell me the story. I need to know this. What the hell?
Right. So I went in, and it was raining. This one day it was absolutely peeing it down. And I'm wearing, little dolly shoes, little
Yeah,
pumps.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so we'd been out in the yard, that morning, come back in time for lunch. And I took my shoes off and I put on a pair of black socks and I come out of my cell in just socks because my shoes, you could have wrung them out like a damn flannel. They were so drenched with water. And this officer was like, "No, get back in your cell. You are not supposed to leave your cell with no shoes on, blah, blah, rules, regulations, and whatever else." And I looked at him, and at that point, I'm not going to lie, I was like, "You know what? Fuck you." I looked at him and I was like, "Literally, mate, fuck you. I could wring my shoes out, go and have a look at my shoes. I'm coming out to get my damn salad in my socks." And he shoved me back into my cell quite forcefully. And he
Fuck.
locked the door. Yeah, so he went and got my salad and he threw it across my cell. And my words were, and I quote, and I apologize to my family because you probably will watch this video at some point. I looked at him and I said, "Fuck you, you little bastard. Pick my salad up right now with your hands or I'll make you pick it up with your asshole." And he punched me to the floor and he stamped on the left side of my face.
Fuck. What, in your cell? Sorry.
In my cell, yeah, in my
Did you
cell.
report
Obviously,
it?
no, because at that point I didn't know who I could report it to. I didn't even know how to work the canteen pod. I didn't even know how to do that, so I didn't know who I could say it to.
What the
And
hell?
in a weird way, I thought, "Oh, this is like home. I can deal with this. I can cope with this. It's violence. I know how to cope with this." And I thought, "Well, what do I say? Who do I say it to? I am the criminal. I'm behind bars. So what do I do?" You know?
Oh my God, I never thought, like, well, no, I do believe officers still do that kind of stuff, but I don't know, just for something so silly as that, like, you don't expect it to be like yeah, I don't, that's fucking mental.
And this man is the face of induction in Peterborough. I don't know if he still is now. I don't have that kind of sort of information. Um, but yeah, when I went in, and like I said, I went in with the whole Wentworth mentality. I was expecting it, but at the same time, when it happened, it was a complete shock. Like, this man is in uniform. This man is supposed to be there to sort of guide us through our sentence and help us, but he
I
really
would have been
wasn't.
scared. I would have been, if that happened to me, I think I would have got really scared. Like, shit. Like, you just don't know, do you? Like, what's going to happen? Like, is this is this normality? Fucking
Yeah, exactly.
hell.
I think for even women that haven't been through domestic violence or anything like that, to have that be the face of a prison for whatever crime they've gone in for is utterly terrifying.
Yeah.
More terrifying than release, I think. But it was
Shit.
yeah, it was absolutely mental. Those first couple of weeks, I didn't know whether I was coming or going. I was on a come down as well. So I, like I said, gone in absolutely off my trolley. Um,
Yeah.
and the prison intake nurse, so she obviously did a drugs test, and I can laugh about it now. It wasn't funny then, but I can
Yeah.
laugh about. And she was like, "Oh, Gina, you failed a drugs test." My eyes like
No shit. Oh, sorry, buddy. No shit, Sherlock.
I looked at her. I was like, "Nah, you're lying."
Like you do.
And you're screwing me over, you little fucker. And I did. I went in absolutely off my nuts. I went in 8 stone, 2 ounces. Within 11 months, I came out just over 14 stone. So I was borderline so unwell because I had used at that point cocaine to escape the mental reality of what I was going through. I walked with broken bones because I was so off my head on cocaine that I didn't feel that
You
pain.
know. Yeah,
And
drugs are
but
good to take away pain, physical and
yeah,
mentally.
exactly. But to be told by someone you failed a drug test, right now you're lying. Like, do you know what I mean? It was mental.
I know. It's like they're gonna believe us over the fucking drug test machine.
But and I'll be honest, I loved my time inside. I loved it.
It
Absolutely.
it's bad, yeah. I
Yeah.
did. I had some dark times. I was in there nearly 4 years, but I remember all the good. I don't remember the bad. Like I remember a lot of the good times, and I had some wicked times.
Yeah, exactly. When you go from like I don't know like your whole life story, from what you've said about your parents, your dad, you had a really good kind of upbringing and sort of strayed.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, literally. Yeah,
yeah,
so for me, I had the perfect upbringing, but like there was stuff that happened at home which I knew about at a young age. So then I led into you right there, mate. So then it led me into drug addiction, and yeah, I was on class A's by the time I was like 15, 16. So it just escalated from there. Like, and then I
exactly.
obviously learned I could sell drugs to pay for my drug habit. And even when I got
Yeah,
clean, I was addicted to selling it. I was addicted to the money. So you're just in that vicious cycle. Anyone that
yeah,
knows that's an addict, it doesn't have to just be taking drugs or alcohol. It can be cleaning. It can be my Pepsi Max. It comes and gets you in all different ways,
it
man.
does. I think a really big thing is learning that you don't have to substitute one addiction for another to thrive. Um, so for me, when I got out, it was the drink. I was clearing up 4 liters of neat vodka a day.
No.
Uh, and that's straight out the bottle. I actually, ironically, went on eBay and I found a metal straw that would reach to the bottom of the bottle, so I didn't have to keep tipping it up. Um,
That's
and
crazy.
it's absolutely crazy. But to go from that to where I am now, to where I feel confident enough. And I haven't told you like my whole story, like, I haven't gone into detail with that. So if anyone wants to reach out and really sort of get to where, not get to where I was, but to have a full understanding of where I was to where I am now, then reach out. I am absolutely fine with that. If I can support in any way I can, I will.
Do you have any
But
social media accounts? Do you do anything on social media to do with this stuff, or just social media in
um,
general?
yeah, so I mean, if people want to reach out to you and get my Facebook name, then that's absolutely fine. I don't have a problem with that. Drop me a message. I'm on WhatsApp in the group page. There's so many avenues that I can be contacted. So if you want to
Yeah.
go through your or through Glenna, then that's absolutely fine.
So
But
yeah,
just know that you will never be judged. If you reach out to me, I will not judge, I won't belittle, I won't, make any kind of comments. I am here fully to just support people, that men and women that have gone through what I've gone through. I am happy to do that, because if a small part of me helps someone else, then I've done what I needed to do.
and it's knowing, isn't it, that you never had that person and what a difference it could have made if you did. And I think anyone that's been to prison never judges anybody, because you're so accepted there, unless you're a P, um,
Yeah,
then literally, or an N, whatever you want to call them, then you're not no what, like I said, your crime doesn't matter. You're seen as a human being, as a person, and that's kind of like where I found my self love, because I was quite big in the drug world in my area at one point, and I would have money, then I'd have nothing, then I'd be worrying how I'm going to find money. So I'm not making out like I was rich all the time. I never was, but I had Rolex, I had like brand new truck, I had a Porsche, and I used to always think, people, or if I got with girls, it was always what I could give them. But then when I went into prison, and people just loved me for me, like girls fancied me because of me, because I couldn't give them nothing. I was nobody. I couldn't take you on a date. I couldn't take you on holiday. I couldn't take you for dinner. So in there, that's when you really kind of like, you think, fucking hell, I'm liked for me, like truly
yeah.
me, and you're not judged.
I think that's the crux of it, isn't it? You go into prison and you are literally nothing. You are just another number to the system.
Mm.
And have that, whether you choose to accept it or not, that even sort of minor attention is fine. And it's whatever you consider to be appropriate. Like, that's entirely up to that one person. But essentially, inside, you are just another number.
Yeah, literally. So how is life now? Come on. Is life good? Are you happy? Are you married? You got 10 more babies? I'm just playing. No, but what, come on, let's hear a nice ending to the story.
So yeah, so I came out. Let's skip forward past the head injury and whatever else. Um, I'm with someone who's actually just got in the car. Um, and yeah, everything is absolutely fine. I look back and I think, do you know what? That wasn't love. That wasn't what it should be. But to then find someone that actually cares about you in the right way and in a healthy way, and actually loves you for everything despite all your flaws, that is the end goal. And well, no, that's not just the end goal. I think for me personally, the end goal is obviously being loved in the right way, in a healthy way, but at the same time feel free to edit that, Clever. Expose flaws in the system, and that's not just the prison system, that is the social care system, the police system. Because as we speak at the moment, my youngest is still with my perpetrator. Um, yeah, so the police on Friday told me that they were going to close the investigation into the domestic violence. CPS won't touch it, apparently. Social services, for some reason, seem to be completely blind to the coercive control, and obviously not towards me, but towards my youngest. Um, and they don't see a problem with that behaviour. So I think now, personally, these things need to be spoken about. It's not shameful. It shouldn't be embarrassing for someone, and I get that it is, because for a long time it was for me. But there are flaws that are still ongoing that need to be dealt with, and it doesn't start with one person and that one person's voice. Then
Mm.
where's it going to start?
No, of course, and it's hidden away too much. It really is, and it needs to be put out there more. And I'm pretty sure that you're gonna be. I can guarantee that there'll be at least one person that watches this, and they're probably sat in silence. And you'll make such a big difference to, and that's the whole point of this. It's so important that people get help, or there's someone out there that can at least guide them, because people are in it. I mean, you was in it for years, but people are in it for life sometimes, and they think I've got kids and I've this, that, and the other. But you can escape it. You can, and I'm grateful that you're offering to let people reach out. So, guys, my email is in the bio on my YouTube page. So just drop us an email, and we can link you guys up if you seek any advice or need help.
Yeah, and I think for me, like the biggest thing, I was sat scrolling through Facebook one day and I come across this random UK ex female prisoner page, and
Is
it
that?
was a yeah, I don't know who that was, but do you know it was you and one of the girls I was in with, and I thought, God, I know that girl. And I was sat there for ages. I was like, do I join the group? Do I not? All these questions. And I thought, you know what, just join it. And the amount of support that I've had, not only from other women on the page, but from Glenna as well, is absolutely astounding. So it's not just professionals that you can seek help from. Join
Yeah,
the page, got a whole heap of people that are willing to support you through whatever it is you're going through. You've got people that are willing to fight for you and your situation, and they're not directly involved. They're involved by extension, But it's very nice to know that there are so many people that are willing to fight on your behalf, because they can see the failings in the system. They can see the misplaced justice, if you like, because it's not just about a crime. It's not just about one person committing a crime. Because you don't wake up one day and think, you know what, yeah, I'm going to commit a crime one day. I'm going to go to prison. I am going to intentionally put myself in a position where I'm going to get hurt. It's not just that. There is a whole backstory. There is circumstances that lead up to the fundamental crime behavior, however you want to put it, that land us in prison. It's not just a one-off, oh, I'm going to do this today.
mm.
There's so much that you have been
There's
failed
always
on.
a story to it, and that's what people don't understand. But I'm really glad. I mean, I'm really glad that we were helpful. I'm glad that that. I mean, Glenna is out of this world. She's amazing. She's the first hand man on the Facebook page. So guys, you know, please do reach out. It is a women's only group. It's under UK ex female prisoner. Guys, do reach out to it. The reason, it's nothing to do with, oh, we're anti men, because if you're a guy and you're watching this, or and you need help, you can email us too. You can. But the problem we've got is, where I'm a female prisoner and we've been inside and we've seen a lot of stuff, because this does happen to men, like you mentioned earlier. We are you are able to reach out to us, but the problem we've got is, in this page, when women have been essayed or they've been abused, they don't feel it's a safe space. So this page is a safe space, and there are women on there that have not been through anything in their life but support and love and help to be there for other women. There's women that have been through all different circles of life, and like you said, we do come together as a team. And I'm really grateful that someone from the outside has seen it and can say it firsthand, because it's easy for me to say, because I could just be biased. It's our page. And Glenna, it's
I,
our page. Actually, to be fair, you could really say it's Glenna's page, because she is the one, mate. Like, I'm the YouTuber, she's the Facebooker. But
yeah.
she's amazing. And guys, so please, if you are watching this and you do want to reach out, come and join the community of a safe space.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me personally, without a lot of support from Glenna and the women on this page, I probably wouldn't be here. I have had late night phone calls with Glenna, and I mean late night phone calls with Glenna, trying to
Oh,
get through a lot of stuff that's going on sort of in my head, or, you know, I'm anxious about something. So I can't sort of lift her high enough. She has been there when not many other people have. And that's not just, you know, discounting from the other women. They are there as well. And I think for a lot of people that are going through it, don't sit there in silence. Don't sit there and think, oh, I'm embarrassed. Yes, it is embarrassing. And I get it.
Is
But
it
once it's
though? Is it embarrassing? I mean, okay, I get it. I get it. Okay, from your point of view, in it, it's embarrassing. But if I was sat here, I would be like, "Don't be fucking embarrassed. Someone's got you under their spell, man. Don't be embarrassed. You should be proud of yourself for reaching out. Let us help you. Let somebody help you. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
You don't feel embarrassed. Feel proud of yourself for taking that step to reach out. Sorry to jump on you there, but I had to say it.
proudness sort of comes afterwards. Like, to the initial conversation, you know, I am being beaten, I am being abused, my children are stuck in that situation. It is embarrassing to admit that, because in a way it's like almost admitting that you failed, and you
I hear
haven't.
that. I hear that.
Dragged into a situation that you have no control over. And I think that once it's out there, though, once you've said it, you know, even like, this person is hitting me, whether it be a man or a woman, you know, domestic violence isn't sort of gender confined. Once it's out there, it's done. You've taken that first leap of faith, you've said it, and from there it can only get easier.
No, 100%. Literally, I'm so grateful for you making this video tonight, and I feel like there's probably so much more to your story. So if you ever feel like coming back and doing a part two, I'd love you to. And I really, really appreciate you being open and honest. I think you're brave. I think you should be really proud of yourself, for coming as far as you have and getting out. Whether it took 10 years, 10 weeks, it doesn't matter. The moral of it is you got out, and I hope you are an inspiration. No, you will be an inspiration to a lot of other women that get to see this. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. And it's a big thing, isn't it? Like, it's just admitting it is a bit, not admitting it, because that seems like it's something that is wrong. Just being able to talk about it
It's the
is a
first
big thing.
step.
Yeah, it is a first step, but then to get to a point where, like, for me, it was kind of shameful, you know, with my post adoption upbringing. It might have been quite shameful for me to admit, but I'm there, and I'm at a point where I can talk about it. And now I think the fight for a lot of people is to expose failings, to be able to stand up and fight and say, do you know what, I got out, and I did get out. I don't see myself as a victim, I survived, but my child is still in that situation. So the fight's not done yet. So I am
Yeah.
happy to do a more sort of in-depth one, if that's okay with you, if that's all right with everyone else as well. I'm good with that.
Listen, no, listen, it's down to me and Glenna, and I'd love to have you back on. I just feel like there's so much more, and you'll probably, I know for a fact, because I do Dirty Coffee, but oh, why didn't I say that? I forgot to say that. So I definitely would love to have you on because, yeah, I just feel like you'll be an inspiration to other women that are struggling. And obviously, there's so much more of your story I can tell, that you can let us know. But we do sort of try and keep it to an hour, hour and a half. On all videos or live. So yeah, thank
Yeah,
you so much.
it's all right. It's
And
all
I'm
right.
glad
I'm
things
good.
are good for you now. Right. So yeah, thank you very much for coming on.
That's all right.